We have arrived to the final episode for 2023 of Speed Street. Hope everybody's enjoying their holiday season. Christmas fast approaching. Hanukkah in the midst. Holidays are here. It's great. And we have a final send-off show for 2023 for you in a bang fashion. Joey Chestnut joins us. That is the legendary guest that we had been promoting last week. He stops by the show for 25, 30 minutes, chit-chatting, kibitzing about all things his training, world records, the wildest things he's eaten, all sorts of good stuff with Joey Chestnut, so stay tuned for that. But of course, before we get there, we also have Christmas lists that we're going to get to. Christmas wish list for Connor, myself, and Ben. But got to start with, of course, producer Ben Walton, Connor Daly. Final show of the year, boys. Connor, how we feeling?
Feel good. It's going to be, I feel great about this episode. We got a lot to talk about. I mean, oddly enough, I think IndyCar news has been rampant for us. We got our show's going, and even the Dale Jr. Download had a great show with Denny Hamlin as well. So, I think everyone just feels like, hey, we need to keep these podcasts rolling. But after this, obviously, we're going to have a little bit of a nice break. Enjoy the Christmas holiday. Enjoy the New Year, and come back. And also, we got to thank Ben as well. This is Ben's last episode. Ben, I mean, we want to thank Ben for being here. Ben is moving on in his life to new and better things. Well, maybe better. We'll see. This is a great show.
New things.
Ben, we want to thank Ben for everything that he's done. He's been a great part of this podcast. He's been an incredible part of this program. Helps me put all the things on the YouTubes. Actually, just helps me put everything everywhere. So this is Ben's last episode. So everyone, thank Ben for all that he's done for this show. And we will have in the new year a new producer. We will have a new Ben. So Ben is moving on, and we're very thankful for what Ben has done for us. So thank you, Ben. That's our Ben segment of the day. We appreciate you. Have you enjoyed it, Ben? Have you enjoyed your time?
I've loved it. Yeah, no, I was super excited when Mike approached me last year asking if I wanted to do this, and I said yes immediately. He asked me, he's like, have you heard of these guys? I was like, yeah, I know them.
Nope.
And then, never in my life. And then it took a few weeks, and eventually it's just like, all right, let's do it. And then we went to the 500 that year, met you guys, filmed the video, and it's been awesome. I uploaded every minute of it. It's been cool getting to know you guys and being a part of it. And I'm thankful for you guys just being cool to work with. So I will still be listening. Speed Street, I can now enjoy it from, outside of, the editing softwares and YouTube, cutting softwares and everything. So that'll be, a nice change. But, I'll definitely miss working with you guys.
We will miss you as well. We appreciate you. And just like we always talk about, this is the Speed Street that's grown from a street to a neighborhood, and on our house here on Speed Street, you always got a room available, man. There's always a room for you whenever you want to come hop back on. But we know that you're going to be out there in the videography, the content creation, motorsport world, making a name for yourself and even more, and doing good things. So hell yeah, brother, go get them. Me and Connor, we're past our days, man. We're not the young guys anymore. We're already set in our ways, doing our things, and as the cliche goes, the world is your oyster. So go make it what you will, or find that pearl, or whatever the hell they do with oyster.
Yeah, all those things,
all those good things.
Right. Yeah. I'll hopefully be at some IndyCar races in the future. I'm not going to rule any of that out. So
great.
Hopefully I'll see you guys. Love to be at the 500 at some point. Good. So yeah.
As you should.
That's a good one. Yeah. That's a good one to be at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, we'll talk more about that before we send off here at the end, of course. But Connor, like you started at the top, man, a lot of news, plenty of news to get to. You got drivers making new deals elsewhere in different series. We got a big sponsorship that has been with another team that's with a new team now. We saw this announcement. We'll start there. We saw this announcement yesterday with DHL, formerly with Andretti Autosport, and had been on the cars of the likes of Ryan Hunter-Ray and Romain Grosjean. Now going to be with the two-time series champion, Alex Palou. Hey now.
Yeah, and I don't know if you noticed, there were some comments made by the DHL folks that said, when we this isn't a direct quote, but it was like when we had the opportunity to compete at the front, we just had to take it. I was like, you won an Indy 500 and an IndyCar. Like, you won an Indy 500 with Ryan Hunter-Reay, first of all.
Yeah.
And like Roman Grosjean just last year was also on the pole and like was at the front sometimes, you know what I mean? But pretty wild for that comment to be made. I feel like they've been with Andretti for so long. I feel like it's been a great partnership. So I don't know. Maybe there's beef. Maybe there's beef there. But I also, we know that Kiffin Simpson brings a lot of money to that Ganassi program. So maybe they were able to, do a better deal. Who knows? I don't know. Maybe there's shipping business to be done there. I think that the thing that we got to remember, these aren't just straight up deals of like, hey, we'd like to see DHL on the side of our car. You know what I mean? Here's a bunch of stickers. There's business to business involved. There's Connections that, Chip might have made that, that are going to be new for DHL. Obviously they're a business that have enjoyed being in motorsport. We love to see them involved. But boy, is it going to be weird to see Alex Palou in a yellow and red special, next year. So I think it's cool though. Spices it up a little bit. It was kind of a shame to see those comments though about like, hey, we had an opportunity to run at the front. It's like, that is very aggressive. I mean, Ganassi, they did win a ton of races as we saw in our season review. But yeah, interesting comments to be made. Interesting comments.
It does. It's, pretty scathing. Maybe, kind of one of those old, the last taste in your mouth is the strongest, if you will,
Yeah.
kind of situation. But for Alex Palou, all good things, but also, with the yellow and the red, it kind of matches his home Spanish flag a little bit. So you kind of
exactly, yeah. He's Team Spain. He's driving the Team Spain car now. It's like A1GP back in the day.
Yeah, no, we got friends of ours, friends of mine, the Morals. They fly the Spanish flag along with the tin flag whenever they're camping out at races, and now they'll just be able to combine them into one. So it's nice. It's efficient.
Exactly.
Good marketing.
He's gonna love it. Yeah, good proper marketing.
But it is good to see somebody like that still. You know what I mean? It's a mainstay. It's good to have them in the series. Absolutely.
Well, and with all the difficult news that has happened really in IndyCar lately, it's good to see just that a premier partner is still involved, because there's been a lot of chaos that's been, running across the internet about IndyCar, because as we mentioned on our previous show, we might have just thrown in a little bit, hey, the hybrid tests are delayed. There may be some activities. There may be some I had already known it was going to be delayed because of the testing was getting delayed. But IndyCar did make the official announcement only a couple days after we came out with our episode. But the hybrid systems are going to be officially delayed until after the Indy 500, at least, right? I think that's probably the best move. Again, I don't. This is a tough one for IndyCar fans to see, and it's a tough one for our social media community. I see it. We all see it. And then Mark Miles made the comment that he doesn't read social media, which I think a lot of people had some problems with, because a lot of our fans are on social media. The social media is pretty powerful. But it almost seemed like the last week has been like an article battle too, because then you said, Honda came out and said if the hybrids aren't there, then they'll be gone. Yep. And then the IndyCar would come out with another quote, and so it's this quote battle of press releases that I just, it's a shame that we have to be in that spot. Like I wish there could be a little bit more positive news, but I think for us as a racing series, I think that it means that the Indy 500 will again be very close to being as fast in qualifying, or if not faster, if we've all found a little bit more time. Because again, as far as I know, and I don't know the exact details, but I would assume that it's like, hey, we're going to be straight back to the last year's rules, cars, essentially everything for all the events until they upgrade all the hybrid stuff, or they put all the hybrid stuff in. Because the hybrid cars are slower. Like that's just a fact. The hybrid cars are slower. They're heavier. And so, I know for anyone who goes to the Indy 500, last year's speeds were awesome to see. I thought it was one of the craziest things ever that we saw 235 mile an hour laps, single car laps for qualifying. I mean, that's some of the coolest stuff that we can say that we do right now. So I think that's a positive. I think it just lets us get going. And, let's say we really force these hybrids in. And guys, we got to remember too, as IndyCar fans, like we know that we're not the top tier. What we know it. We have to be okay with that. We have to be okay with the fact that we're working on things. But let's say they tried to force all these hybrid units out there. Obviously, Penske and Ganassi have got to run it right now, but not many of the smaller teams have got to run it. So some teams already start with way more of an advantage than others. Let's say the teams who I bet if you try to force it on, you're going to have teams like Dale Coyne or AJ Foyt getting it the week before the season starts, right? That's impossible to be able to compete with those folks that already have it. So then you make the racing look worse, and then it just really overly separates the field by a little bit much, and people don't understand it, and it's just not. So I do see the point behind it. The series is not dead. Like all these people are like, oh, come on, like all this stuff. Like it's you still have 28 full-time cars or whatever, an absurd number of full-time cars next year. You're going to see 35 potentially. I mean, that's as many engines as will be allowed out, for qualifying for the Indy 500. And again, it's funny, I sat down with Jacob Abel and his dad at the PRI show last week. Great folks as well. Got to do a go-kart race out of PRI show, which is a lot of fun. But I was like, oh, hey, man, are they going to let you have 2 engines and put 2 cars out there for the Abel Motorsports camp? Like, you guys were pretty good last year. And the sad part is a team like Abel Motorsports, who I think did a fantastic job last year, who I believe they are a team that, the Abel family, they're doing well in life, right? Like the Abel Motorsports, Abel Construction, like that group, they could, if they wanted to, probably run another car at the 500. Just like in the old days when we used to, like you'd have the smaller teams, hey, we're gonna get 2 for the 500 because why not? But sadly, we're all going to be limited by engines. So I wish it was less of a case, because I from what I hear now, all the drivers out there for the 500 too, we could have 40. You could have 40 cars trying to make that 33 car field. I think there's enough drivers, there's enough people who want to do it, but there's not enough personnel and there's not enough engines, but engines being the main part. So again, it is what it is. We have to trust in Honda and Chevy because those are our premier partners of the series. They're great engine manufacturers, and they're working their butts off to make sure that all those 33, 35 engines that they do put out there for the 500 are capable of competing for a win. So there's a lot of negativity out there on the internet. Again, I know that it's tough that we see this hybrid news, and we do have to get that fixed. I'm a little worried. I am a little worried, just by a lot of things.
Well, I mean, it's tough to see that, the headline in the news about Honda.
Yeah, that's the most worrying,
and not kind of have a little bit of just be a little scared, a little hesitancy for the future, right?
Yeah, and I saw it was an interesting poll I saw on Twitter. How many people have actually bought a ticket to a race to see a hybrid engine run? And it was like 99% to like 1.
Right.
Hybrids aren't selling tickets. I'm sorry. Like we have to remember that that's not the reasoning behind it. I mean, the F1 cars as hybrids sound terrible. I think anything that the only cars that actually sound really good as hybrids are the IMSA cars, right? Because they got great engines in those things and all different engines as well. And they have that whole electric bit leaving the pits where you're like, there is no engine. And then it fires up. So again, how IMSA can have it like that is purely based on manufacturer support, right? They have Ferrari developing these cars from the ground up, Lamborghini developing these cars from the ground up, GM, Cadillac, those guys, Acura developing those cars essentially from the ground up. So there's a lot there that I wish we could get to. I wish we could allow, a car menu, like we need a new car, we need a new engine, right? Let's just get there. Like, hey, I'm sorry. You know what? We got 28 full-time cars. If we go down to 24, we have to accept that. First of all, because 24 is great still. But if these teams have to spend more money but run less overall cars, it doesn't matter. We got to get a new car. We got to get a new engine. And I, for the sake of our manufacturers, like, hey, let's get a good-sounding hybrid that's cool and fast, that's efficient. And so I don't know how we get there, but I do hope that at some point, even if these hybrids for the second half of next year or whenever they start to run them, even if that's just a very much like an early phase, like all right, we got these for now, and then we're going to go to a cool new system that IMSA developed, you know what I mean? Or something. We just got to figure it out for the sake of the series, because there's a lot of bad comments that I read out there. But we also have to remember that everyone is negative on Twitter, essentially. Everyone is negative. There's negative stuff about NASCAR, even though they got a $7.7 billion TV deal. But when you look at the overall graph of what's going on in the motorsport world, as someone who looks at it pretty intently, I see a lot of upward swing, positive things for Formula One and NASCAR, even though Formula One, they had nearly a riot over the FIA doing wild stuff to Susie Wolf and Toto Wolff. That was a whole different story. But still, when it comes to the upward trajectory, they're going up. And I just IndyCar, I don't know. I don't know what to say. I don't want to be negative about it because I love it so much. But the only reason why so many fans, I think, can be negative on the internet is because we care about IndyCar, right? We like this sport. We want to see it do really well. And so I hope we have some exciting things to look forward to. There is a lot of exciting. I mean, shoot, the Indy 500 this year, I think, is going to be the most competitive ever. Kyle Larson, you're going to have 35 maybe trying to qualify, just incredible field. But yeah, how does that sound, Joey? I didn't want to be too negative about it, but I just want to put people into, there's a realness to this. We got to look at it.
That's what
reality.
I was about to say. It's not negative when it's just the reality of the situation that you said. And
these are real things that are happening.
Right. And that's what was going to be my next question, is that what has been done to this point to give you full 100% faith that those things are going to happen, and they're going to happen in a timely manner that's going to make everything okay,
Well, I think it will happen because they are still getting all the parts as if it was supposed to start at the beginning of the season, right? So you're going to have a period. There's even a period that we have to remember of an Olympic break. So during that Olympic break, there's talk of no testing allowed, just kind of it's like the F1 winter or summer shutdown. Olympics, we're obviously not racing. We got a month off or whatever. We're gonna go into shutdown mode. And maybe we have the hybrids after that when they get everything in. But I don't know. Maybe it's right after the Indy 500. It just depends on when they get the parts in and when they get them to the teams. I do believe it'll happen for sure because it has to. But I just think it's the smartest thing to do because they want to make sure that it's right when it comes out. And I really and there are smart people working on this. This is not discounting anyone in the IndyCar camp. But I also think they just need more people as well. You got to hire more people to help with this whole program to take the load off some of the senior members that we've got right now who are busting their butts trying to make this happen. But yeah, I think it will happen. It will. It has to happen because it was meant to happen. But is it a slower integration? Is it after the Indy 500, we're just going to make sure that the unit that connects the hybrid is in there, which again just makes it heavier, and the bell housing. There's a lot of technical aspects to it. But next year there's also some small upgrades to the aero screen. I saw that they're going to have next year for maybe a lighter aero screen and some venting for the drivers, which I think is going to be really good. So there's going to be small things that we can look forward to, and we just have to keep the faith. We can't just be I'm going to abandon IndyCar because that's stupid. NASCAR's had some weird cars before, and people still always show up. You know what I mean? They've had some interest. The new car right now, there's been some issues with it, right? But there's still millions of people watching that race, and there's still tons of passionate fans. So, we can easily be passionate IndyCar fans and still be excited about the fact that we are going to have really good racing next year. If you're pure racing fans, we're still going to be those people. So let's try to stay positive about it for what it is. But a lot of big news, and there's a war of quotes, and I just hope everyone ends up on the same page and be like, hey guys, we got to figure this out. If you know what, it's gonna be hard to figure it out, but you have to do it. And Mark Miles saying that he doesn't pay attention to social media at all was well, probably smart in some ways, but also a lot of people on social media are right. There are a lot of people who actually are all saying what several people, I would say, in the organization or in the sport want to say but can't. You know what I mean? Because we all got to keep our jobs.
This is true. Yeah. No, and like you mentioned, I mean, it seems like every time you open up Twitter, every other day, there's some new article, there's some new quote, there's some new update that we're going to be keeping an eye on during our Christmas break and heading into 2024, no doubt. All right, well, moving on from that, some more kind of bummer news, I think. We have Callum Ilott with the news that he is going to be racing in another series in 2024.
Yeah. Callum Ilott to the Jota team. That's the team that's actually Tom Brady supports. The Jota team with Hertz and the Porsche hypercar. And again, this was going to happen. Callum is a talented driver. He's one of those guys that, unlike me, he's got the momentum. And so, a sports car team is for sure lucky to have him because he's been racing at the top level. I truly believe if you're in sports cars and you're not looking at someone like Callum, who has actually got trophies from IndyCar. Well, he's almost got trophies from IndyCar. He's very close. Started on the front row, very good. Or I mean, shoot, even like me, we're like we've been racing against some of the best drivers in the world for several years now. Callum has as well. Like you have to respect that. And so Callum right now, he's a hot commodity. And good for him. Callum's got to make a living doing something. He's got to be a race car driver. He can't just show up to the IndyCar races, hope someone's going to get a sprained thumb or something like that. It's just not. I mean, he is probably going to beat me now to be the one to be called for substitute driver roles. Maybe. I don't know. I hope to still be the guy that gets the call for reliability and speed. But Callum, he's got a job. Hate to see him outside of IndyCar. I think he truly believes, and he believes he deserves another shot. I believe he deserves another shot. But we'll see what happens there. It's good for him to be racing still, and I'm very curious to see how it plays out.
Yeah, I know that. I mean, friend of the show, we've had him
on.
Friend
of the show.
Certainly enjoy our conversations with him. I mean, I know I've said it before, but it seems like he's one of those guys that just gets it in terms of, he's an interesting interview. He brings something fresh on social media. He kind of has that presence, right? And then those are all good things on top of the fact that, he showed a lot of really good results, driving for Yuka Longer and his time there. And obviously some really unfortunate online, hate,
abuse,
abuse and everything that was going on there that really, I hate to think that would be a factor into it, but it's just unfortunate to see a guy like that, a young guy like that, that I think fans really enjoy, not being in the series next year. But like you said, never know. Maybe there's a chance he can hop back in eventually. He's a young guy. Plenty of time to make your way back around there for sure. Lastly, before we get to our interview with Joey Chestnut, you mentioned, and we had talked about it the last couple of weeks, this is just another off season of Pato. The guy's everywhere. He's traveling the world. He's in weddings. He's had luxurious, very nice hotels at the beach and all sorts of things. But he's also just kind of saying seemingly whatever he wants. I know you wanted to update us on that. What do you got?
Well, no, I think there's just a couple things. Like one of my favorite things currently in the off season is to read Pato articles, is to read quotes that he said about comparing IndyCar to Formula One, comparing this, that, or whatever. And, he's definitely pushing like he's going to be in Formula One, right? I think he's a very good driver. I think I'm going to be very curious to see how he does this year. But it's just, we need someone like Pato, because if I said what he's saying, I would just be shot in the head. Like, it'd be like, well, you've never done anything in your life, even though that's wrong. I got trophies behind me. But Pato, obviously, he's got the juice right now. He's probably the most followed, one of the most followed drivers in IndyCar right now. He's like, he can show up and he can post a photo of a taco or him eating a taco and it gets 100,000 likes immediately, which is awesome. I mean, when you're famous when you can post a photo of you eating a taco with like no caption. That means you're famous. And Pato is our famous guy. The rest of us have to come up with cool captions and freaking all kinds of different things and thank people. But he can just be like, here's a spicy shrimp taco and my face, eating it in 4 different ways. We need that in IndyCar, though. Like, that's what all the F1 drivers do. Lando Norris posts a photo of him with a camera, on his face, and he's like, 2 words caption, and people go nuts. So, again, these are things that we need in IndyCar. We need the popular drivers, and Pato can say whatever he wants. Because, honestly, Pato's right in a lot of what he says. He is. His brain works. He sees what's wrong, and he's not afraid to say it. But we have to accept that and be like, hey, you know what? At least people are talking about IndyCar. Like, boom, that's good. Good for us. Yes, there are things we need to work on, but we have to be okay with the fact that someone's saying it, and let's get to work on it. Let's do it.
Yep. No, I mean, I remember even back to 2022 when I was doing Drivers Eating Donuts with Pato, and I had him on the bus like 45 minutes. That was like 25 minutes longer than every other driver I could get on there, and he was just like just an open book, and everything that I would ask, he would have an answer for, and he would have a strategy for it, and he would have, this is why I'm right, and this is why they're wrong, and this is what needs to happen. And always good stuff with young Pato, for sure. I wish that I had his looks and also his ability to travel the world and be in tropical places, seemingly whenever he wants to be. So
at all times,
yeah, exactly. Good life for young Pato, and
indeed,
we'll continue to keep an eye on it and hear his comments, I'm sure, throughout the winter heading into next season. All right, let's do it. Let's talk to Joey Chestnut. Fantastic conversation. With a guy that you are very, very familiar with. You watch him every 4th of July break world records. He's eating dogs. He's eating St. Elmo's shrimp cocktail. He's eating it all, and he's out now. And let's talk to him right now.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, our final show of the year. We mentioned we have a fantastic guest, and that is the case. We have a very, very talented guest. We have a guest that, if you don't know his name, you're probably living under a rock. He's a man who is potentially one of the most successful figures of competition, some would say, in the history of the world. A 16-time champion of a certain event, the Nathan's Hot Dog Eating Contest champion, 16-time, I believe. And this man also one-time competitor on The Amazing Race, along with myself. Joey Chestnut, ladies and gentlemen. Joey, thank you for being here. How you doing, my friend?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Good to see you again.
I love it. So, Joey, I've wanted to interview you for a long time. We just saw you last week at the racetrack. Love that. To start, being the hero that you are to so many people, right? The hot dog eating competition. At what day in your life were you like, you know what? I'm really good at this. Like, I'm sure this is a question you get all the time, but like, what was day one where you're like, I ate 76 pancakes and, my friend ate 10? Like, what was the start of this whole journey for you?
Because I was always the biggest eater in the family, 6 kids in the family. And I remember if my mom made a meal that I was like really into, whether it was her lasagna or the chicken parm, or even I was crazy for like little things like her macaroni and cheese and hot dogs. Dude, it was
great things. Yeah.
And it would just go down so easy. And I remember my siblings would get mad at me for eating like more than my share, and then my mom would get mad at me for not leaving any leftovers for my dad who was at work. And it was like something I was like, everybody in the family was aware of, that I was ridiculously fast and I ate a lot. And it was like me, I was growing up, I was almost ashamed of it, because I was like, all right, I got to hold back. I don't want to get yelled at. And then when I was in college, it was kind of like, I was like, all right, we're going to go to the dining comments. All right, don't make my plate too big. I don't want to draw attention. And then, but everybody kind of knew already. And then eventually one of my brothers, my little brother, he signed me up to a contest when I was 21. And I was hesitant to go. And it was like, all right, I'll try it. I was 21. I was at a casino, so I did it, and I was like, oh my god, I love it. I loved everything about it. I didn't have to hold back. I did. It wasn't like people yell at other. It wasn't. I thought I would be really embarrassed because naturally I'm a shy guy, and and it was like, I was like, oh my god, I found my calling. It was weird. And so I was 21, and as soon as I did that contest, I was like, oh, I have to beat the little Japanese guy, Kobayashi. He's the target. He's the goal. And I was 21, and it just kind of opened up for me.
Man, Joey, so, I mean, I've asked you about this before when we've been at different events, but just for the audience, I guess, because, Connor, when he's training for the Indy 500, he has to train different muscles and different reactions and different things like that to get his body and his mind right for an event like that. What is the training process like for a competitive eater, especially one that's at your world champion status level? I mean, it's I gotta imagine it's a lot and it's strenuous, but what is that like? What is that process like for you?
Oh, when I was younger, it was a little bit easier. No, because when you're younger,
I feel the same way now training for IndyCar races. I'm like, dang, why is everything hurt?
It's well, I could practice more with pure just eating, and I would be able to exercise the muscles of my throat and esophagus just purely through eating. Now I'm older. If I take in that many calories, I'm not back to my normal weight. For 4 or 5 days. When I was younger, I could eat like a madman every 2 or 3 days. So I have to find a way to work out these. So I put a lot of work into exercising the muscles without eating, whether it's swallowing air or working on a bench and doing head raises. I have 2 different toy, not toy, like there's a chew toy, and then there's another weight that puts weight on my jaws. So there's a lot of you gotta exercise these little muscles, because a lot of people will slow down and they're like, oh, you slowed it. People, their first thought is, oh, you're slowing down because you're full, and they know it's these little muscles that are moving food from your mouth to your stomach at a ridiculous speed. So you have to find a way to exercise them. And when I was younger, it was easy because I could practice a lot. But now I'm a little bit older, so you gotta find ways to get exercise things, even though you're not doing the full exercise. Like, I'm sure you can't get into a race car every day or every
exactly.
So you got to find ways to these muscles. If you don't use them, you lose them, and you have to find a way to push them almost every day, even if you're not pushing the maximum things like the stomach. Like it's already, you don't have to push the stomach every day. I can get away with twice a week at a really good stretch and keeping everything used to digesting. But every day I have to exercise these muscles roughly.
That's incredible. And it's the dedication though, right? Because you want to be the best. It's people kind of might seem, oh, like that's funny, like that's kind of crazy. But like realistically, if you find something that you want to be the best at, no matter what realm of competition that is, you got to dedicate a lot of time to. You got to dedicate a lot of effort to it. You mentioned when you're 21, right? You said, all right, I'm going to go after Kobayashi. Now, I remember this when I was growing up. Like, you're a little bit older than me, but I remember that, like, that duel. I can't remember the first time that I saw you guys on ESPN or it was like, but I remember going to my parents' room when I lived at their house, and I was like, did you just see what these guys did? Like, can you believe that they're doing that? I remember it so vividly, like after watching either a highlight on ESPN of you going up against Kobayashi, but this was also like before the social media era, right? So this is kind of like when you guys were first, going head to head, and like that was like a crazy thing to see. It's kind of before that era. So as you saw social media come into play, did you realize that this was becoming bigger and bigger? And because like now, I mean, dude, you got commercials, you've been in, massive social media campaigns, massive marketing campaigns. But I would say back in the day, like when you first started, was it wild to see the landscape kind of change as the internet came about, as all these different ways to kind of see what you do was happening?
Yeah, well, and there's so many little things, like, dude, yeah. But before the internet got blew up, everybody was like told what to like.
Yeah,
exactly. And so in the beginning, there were a lot more critics about competitive eating because it was easy to be a critic. And once the internet exposed, like, oh my God, there's everybody doesn't have to like the same thing. And
Exactly.
there was an audience for competitive eating. Then people were like, oh my god, more people are watching it. And then there became, in the beginning, the critics were vicious. I remember it. I would do interviews, and a really nice reporter would start off, and they're like, oh, what do you feel about world hunger? And I'm like, wow, that's really a weird pivot. And there's a lot of waste. So it's like, well, there's waste in everything. If you're going to be negative, it's really easy to pick things apart. And there's waste in the amount of water used on a golf course. You wouldn't ask a golfer about kids in the Sahara. Like clean drinking water is one of the biggest killers, and nobody would ask a golfer that question.
Yeah.
So it definitely changed a lot. People. In the beginning, I didn't see it as a career. I didn't necessarily. I saw it I saw goals, like, oh, I want to beat Kobayashi, and definitely the internet era, the social media, it brought more attention to things, and it brought more it's good for it. That's one of the best things about social media is you find people are able to find their niche and their what they like. You don't have to. Everything doesn't have to be the big four. The big four sports. I mean, there is IndyCar. There's room for everything, and people to follow a variety of things.
It's a great way to look at it. Yeah. Go ahead, Joey.
So to piggyback off of that, are you familiar with the annual tweet that Peter King from NBC sends out? Or he used to be NBC. Now I don't even know what he's with now. But are you familiar with that?
I don't know if I'm familiar with what he says.
Peter King, the NFL columnist, longtime NFL columnist, every year he sends out the same tweet on 4th of July when everybody's going crazy and loving the hot dog contest.
One, I think I might have seen this.
He's the fun killer. He's the one that puts out there something along the lines of how, reminder that we're the only country in the world that gluttons, blah, 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 and all this nonsense. Every year he sends it out, and every year people just absolutely eviscerate him and roast him. But I just didn't know if you're familiar with it or not.
I have seen it, and and it's easy to be a critic of things, and I'd rather live in a world where there's every country and everybody has the abundance to have eating contests, rather than if there's a world where there's no eating contest, that means there's really a lot of people. We're in a bad place. So it's just and. If anybody's actually looked at it, it's fun. It's a lot of people having fun, enjoying food and competition.
I have witnessed you eating in person. And you're an Indiana guy now, which I think some people didn't know. When people you're in Indiana, just like the rest of us. You live here. That's really cool. And I've witnessed you watch shrimp cocktails downtown. People, I think a lot of Indiana folk have seen you work with St. Elmo's and the guys downtown eating shrimp cocktails at an insane rate of speed. But when you did our show, right, The Amazing Race, I didn't know you before that. This was in end of 2017, this film. But was that something that they came to you for? Because we got approached for it because they hadn't had race car drivers on it, and had they kind of been Joey, we'd love you to do this, or was that kind of also coinciding with this social media element where you were on the up and up? Because again, 2015, 14, the last 10 years have been a big uptick in social media, and hey, you got the juice right now. That Joey, everyone knows Joey Chestnut, so we got to have him on the show. Was that kind of part of it, or what was that? What was that like?
It probably wasn't as my invitation. They were mine was an invitation to try out. There's no guarantee.
I mean, me too. Technically, we had to audition.
It was Yeah, so they're like, hey, are you interested in the show? I was like, yeah, but I love that show. I've watched it since I was a kid, and it was they were like, oh, don't get your hopes up, but because there's a lot of people, and that whole casting process was ridiculous.
It was,
but yeah, so yeah, I definitely the eating it wasn't like they were looking for. Yeah, I guess they were looking for me, which is ridiculous.
I like that.
But it worked out.
But now, go ahead, Joey.
No. You had a follow up. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna go into, because you now like you do the 4th of July thing, right? Boom, ESPN, we love that. ESPN, everyone watches it. I mean, I tune in on my phone if I'm on a boat, if I'm doing I mean, I'm watching, right? And then you had the 30 for 30. The 30 for 30, I mean, I loved watching it. Like, I was locked in as if that was one of my favorite Netflix documentaries. Like, that was a fascinating story. When was that produced? When did that start? And like,
when was that produced? 2016 and 17. It took a while. It took 2 years for them to produce.
Because that came out after The Amazing Race was filmed as well, right? Was that in 2020 it came out? Because like the world was kind of nothing was happening.
No, you're absolutely right. You know, it took two. Damn it, my old.
That's all right.
It came out in 20. No, I think it came out 2019.
Okay,
it was 17, 18.
But what was that like? I mean, the response to that I thought was fantastic because again, I knew you then at that point, and I really enjoyed getting to interact with you during the show. Like both Alex and I, like we all got along really well. I thought that was super cool. But I thought the 30 for 30 really, I mean, again, if you're talking about a rocket ship, that's a rocket ship.
Yeah, well, it brought attention, like, oh my God, these guys are working hard and they take it serious. Yeah. And then there's the other aspect of like, and any kind of athlete or anybody who you have to work with promoters or you have to work with a league, and there's always going to be a show that like, oh my God, everybody can kind of relate to the conflict between the athlete and the league or the promoter, and then there's sponsors. There's a weird dynamic that people on the like, oh my God, I never imagined that it would you're in racing, and you have to. There's more than just racing involved. You have to. It's more than driving a car. You have to smooth. You have to talk. There's contracts, and the same with the competitive eating, and it opened people's eyes to that. There's just so many aspects. And
were you happy with the way it was made too? Like, were you happy with the way it turned out?
It turned out really good. It was very Kobayashi friendly, which is all right.
All right.
And he cried a lot, which is all right. He's a serious competitor, and it turned out really well. And it showed that all I wanted to do was win. I think there's three main characters. There's Kobayashi, there's George Shea, and then there's me. And then Kobayashi, I think, is the good, and then the bad would be the league. Then the hungry is just me. You know, I'm ready.
Hungry.
I'm there to eat and not be nice about it.
I love it.
What's Joey Chestnut's death meal? Like, last meal, what is it?
That's actually a great question. My girlfriend asked me this the other day. What's your death row meal?
I'm on death row.
Well,
what's your death row meal?
Like, you don't have to be on death row. Let's just say that it's like, we know
the final meal.
Yeah, your final meal. Your time is coming to an end, and this is what you want.
Oh my God, we know it's coming. I'd start off with some nice Jack and Cokes.
Obviously,
and then
get the body going.
Take some Jamesons in there, and then we're going into more cocktail, and then prime rib, and some king crab, and I'm gonna go heavy and hard. And I'm not gonna light up. More prime rib. I might have. Everybody was it Al Michaels who never had any
vegetables.
I can't believe he doesn't like grilled asparagus. I love asparagus with extra salt and pepper.
Wait, now wasn't grilled asparagus one of the first things that you ate as a like? I read something on the internet that you ate deep fried asparagus in an eating championship.
Dude, yeah, deep fried asparagus. Deep fried asparagus dipped in covered in Parmesan cheese and dipped in like extras. Oh,
incredible!
Wow.
Incredible.
And then, I might have to have that on my death meal also, just because that was my first win in competitive eating. But I love to eat. I'm a fat boy at heart, which is why I'm a good competitive eater. There are eaters who are just really ultra competitive and like pushing their body. I'm not necessarily one of those. I'm more of a fat boy that I hate to lose, and so I have to get healthy so I literally can eat as much as I want to eat.
Do you know how many world records you hold currently? Like, do you know how many like records that you own right now in the competitive eating space?
I couldn't. It's hard to be.
Is it like over? Is it like over 20?
It's over.
I
It's
don't
over
know the
50.
answer.
Yeah, it was over 50. I
Wow.
think it was. I think I had a high at 56, but somebody took my glazed donut record this year.
Oh.
So I think 55.
So is it glazed donut season? Like, are we trying to get back on that train? Maybe.
I think that contest is in, and I think wanted to say June 2nd, and it's actually a fun contest in San Diego. So that's one of my favorite places. So I'm hoping I can make it back there and get that title back.
So speaking of, you mentioned keeping your body healthy, right? And keeping your body, in tune. There's obviously a ton of calories that have to go through your system. There's a ton of things that are not good for you that have to go through your system, right? But I don't know how much you want to talk about it, but I know you just went and did like a bit of a cleansing trip, like you get your body right. Is that something you do like every year, or is this, because again, I just saw you last week. You look like an athlete in general, like you're skinny, like you're looking good. Like you wouldn't say, hey, this guy's a competitive eater. Like, can you tell us a little bit about that? Just kind of getting your body, like you do like a once a year reset on, we're going to clean everything, cleanse the system out. What does that involve?
Yeah, this is only my second time like traveling for like full cleanse detox. But it's something that for a long time in the winter I've done. And I've gotten better at it. And
nice.
It's the amount of stuff I do put in my body. It's really hard to. Even if I'm eating super healthy in between contests, I'm gaining weight during the summer because I'm doing so many events, and it's hard. And one of the hardest things about competitive, like the recovery, is when I'm in that lethargic state, all bloated. I don't feel like working out. It's really easy to get working out, and so I've had to get better about it, and. So yeah, so I was in Thailand for 3 weeks, and it was a hardcore detox. Like I would like a vegan diet, no actual eating. It was all smoothies. And
really,
yeah.
And like, are you like only drinking water for some days, or like how? Because like, look, Thailand. We went to Thailand on the Amazing Race. That's the only way. That's the only place I went to. But like, there's got to be some wild stuff out there that just help. Like nature. Is there like nature stuff? Like you're eating leaves that help out over there?
It actually. Everything was kind of blended. There were days where we were just on green juice and broth, and then the green juice is pretty much kale and cucumber and maybe a couple things, a little bit of lemon in there or lime. So and then there's like the broth is like, I don't know. There's absolutely no meat in there. But it's warm. So it's under 500 calories for those days. Some days are a little bit more. They'll go with some pineapple in the smoothies, but
wow.
But the whole thing is like you're trying to reset, and then there's the other portion where we go on these long walks with like 0 calories, and everybody has to like stop because you're on 0 calories. You have to stop it, and like you're pushing your body, and which is good. And you realize like, oh my god, and I'm at this limit where I'm feeling lightheaded, and people you learn to like, all right, catch your breath and you can keep going, and like there are like, it's good to push yourself, and I really, like there's a lot of times when I eat, and a lot of people eat just because they're killing time or they think they need food, and
I'm guilty.
It's a good habit to realize, I don't need those calories. And it's especially for me because I know I'm going to get those calories later during an event or practice. So it's good to just kind of change my habits a little bit. And they do other things, like we're talking like full on colonics and like crazy massages, the detox massages. So that place was intense, but it you walk away with my body feels way better. And awesome. I'll be ready for then come spring when the big contests start. I'll be hopefully I'll put on a little bit of muscle and get my stamina up so I can push and just push my ass off.
How much does, I mean, this is kind of a personal question too, but just from what you were saying about the detoxes, but then the working out, and then all you have to eat, and then you're gaining weight in the summer and you're losing it in the winter. Like, how much typically does your weight fluctuate like throughout a given year? I mean, are we talking like 80?
That's actually really interesting. Yeah.
It's not quite 90. I think the lowest I'll go is about 215 most years, and then I think I got to 260 this year. So yeah,
Wow.
35 pounds. One year I got to the 270, which I was.
You can feel it.
Oh yeah. Oh dude, it's weird because you don't feel it right away, but you can feel it when you start losing weight. You feel it in your ankles. You start feeling light on your feet. You can get on your tippy toe. And then I feel it like I can breathe again. It's weird when I'm heavy. I get winded during contests. Then when you're winded, you're not. If you're breathing through your mouth, you're not eating. So to me, it's one of my best things. When I can run, I can breathe through my nose. I can sneak in my breaths. And that's when I'm doing my best, because I always have the capacity to beat anybody. It's just a matter of if I can stay calm and get the food down fast enough.
So, all right, this is kind of, I want to kind of run through a couple funny ones too. So what's probably the weirdest eating challenge? Like what is it where you've been brought in? Because I assume people are like, hey, Joey, we're going to pay you some money to come in and just see how many whatever you can eat. Like, what's the weirdest thing someone's asked you to consume in let's say, I assume it's like a 10-minute period?
Yeah, it was 10 minutes, and it was in Minneapolis. They had a big zombie pub crawl where everybody dressed as zombies, and there were rock bands, and they're like, hey, we want you to eat cow brain tacos.
Cow brain tacos.
And I guess it was a food truck that Andrew Zimmerman, Andrew Zimmern, the bald-headed guy. We're like, where did he? And so he had made the recipe, and so I got the recipe. I made them at home, and I was like, all right, I can do these. It was seared cow say so. You can just get it at the market, at the Mexican market, which is good. And so I made it. Then I got to the contest, and they were cooked completely different. They were like boiled, and you could see like purple veins in there. They look like brains, and they're super metallic-y. It was like at that contest.
I like that.
Dude, it was rough because like two people barfed during the contest. It was really close to like a Stand By Me moment where everybody got sick. So I was watching the guy next to me, Matt Stoney, making sure I was one ahead of him the entire time.
Just one. That's all we need.
Barely looking at the food, because if I looked at the food too much, it gets nauseating. But that was definitely the roughest.
That's wild.
Yeah, but I think he did 53 and I did 54.
54.
Brain tacos.
Yikes. Well, that's not awesome. What's like the most, because I think eating the shrimp cocktail that you guys eat in downtown Indianapolis, that shrimp cocktail eating contest, you guys are psychos for that. But what's the most fun thing to eat? Like, hey, it's a chicken wing challenge. Like, I love chicken wings. So like, what do you think is like your obviously you do the hot dogs every year, but that looks kind of gross at times. I'm not going to lie. I'm not a hot dog guy, but like, what's the most fun thing where you're like, heck yeah, I can't wait to eat 700 chicken wings.
Buffalo's a great city. Buffalo, New York.
Buffalo.
It's an underrated city in America. They love their bar food. So I go out there for about 3 or 4 days, and sometimes a little bit too long. And
I've heard they have the greatest wings. That's where they
were really started. And so they take their wing fest really seriously. And it's a great wing fest. Like, the fans come out for it, and they push us, and it's an awesome. Yeah, wings are great food. So
I love that.
One of my favorites.
I love that. So quick jump here to IndyCar. So like, obviously you knew a little bit about us, or maybe not by the time we did the Amazing Race, but you've been to the Indy 500. You've seen it. You've been to a lot of major events in your life now. What do you see in IndyCar that's attractive that people might not know about? Or what do you think about IndyCar and the Indy 500? Like, because I love asking people who have seen big events, who have got to interact with us, or got to interact, maybe see it at a little bit of a deeper level. What do you feel is a little bit different about that event or our sport that you think people really need to know about?
It's there's if in America you see a lot of things that are they're young, like 40 years old, 50 years old, buildings, and Indy, and that race has been around for more than 100 years, and then there's tradition, and it's weird going there because they're like they'll sing a song in the beginning. I was like, what is this song? I was like, I don't know the word. Like, you only hear it if you go there. Yeah, like, and
back home again in Indiana.
Yeah, and it's there's just tradition, and it's really cool, and it's not changing. It's kind of cool that like there's so many things that they're changing, and good for better or worse or whatnot. But it's been good for, and it's already been good, and there's no reason to change it. It's already awesome, and it's just fun. It's a really great atmosphere. But I mean, there's lots of events with a good atmosphere. But I think that history, and I mean, this race in the big race in Las Vegas. All right, it was in Las Vegas. It was, but they'll never have the history of Indy 500. And the Indy 500 is just ridiculous. One of the biggest mass gatherings of people for a sporting event in the world, and I'm super happy to go to it.
All right, now quick amazing race questions. We get a lot of amazing race folks that come up and talk to me every now and then. And to be fair, I never really get to ask people amazing race questions, but let's give us a maybe a favorite moment or most challenging moment from your part of the show, because I'm actually, I think I'm going to have to watch some episodes with my girlfriend this weekend because she's coming to town and she has not seen the show because she wants to watch it with me. But give us a favorite moment of season 30 of The Amazing Race, and what was your hardest moment of The Amazing Race?
Favorite moment.
It could be on camera or off camera, but whatever you want.
Oh my God. Well, favorite moment was also borderline. It was close to being my worst moment. We were and it was really close. And so we were in Antwerp, and we had to climb these freaking ladders.
Oh yeah.
And it was cold, and my hands were numb, and I would just run. And I for some reason I ran out of steam, and this fucking this ladder was like, I still had like 20 feet to go at least.
I am so glad I didn't have to do that, by the way. I'm so glad Alex.
And then then for some reason I slipped and I dropped. I dropped so hard. My fat ass dropped so hard. And the thing like shook the ladder and shook the flag off the top. It took and I was like, oh, I completed it because I got the flag off the top.
Yeah.
And like if I had to go back up there's a chance I would have had to do the whole thing again.
Yeah.
Like, and so it was like borderline. It was like the worst moment because like, oh, you have to complete the task before you can move on. So like I got so lucky. I got the flag off, not by the right means, but they gave me credit for it.
There you go.
It was like the worst moment and the best because like yes, that I was able to keep up with the group, and and then we and Tim continued to argue. Oh my God, we were arguing about running around and
it was hard.
It was hard.
Way harder than I think people think.
Well, you're also like a kid because you don't have phones. You don't know where you're going exactly. The clues aren't great.
No.
So it's you don't know what's going on exactly, which is it's kind of it's awesome. Thinking back, we travel all the time, and we have a plan. We know where we're staying.
Yeah.
We know what areas not to go in. But there was like it was the whole race was this. You're on this heightened sense of you just try to take in everything and make decisions.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was definitely one of the wildest experiences. Like at the time when you're done, you're like, oh, I just can't wait to get out of here. But now looking back on it, I was like, you know what? That's pretty cool. Like it was pretty cool that we were able to do a lot of that stuff. So last question here before we let you go. We appreciate it. Are we breaking a world record next year? Are we getting our body ready? Your legs all repaired. You're feeling good. Your detox hot dog champion of 2024. Are we feeling good? Is it everyone loves to bet on the world record thing every year. It's very funny to see. It's a wild number. But are we feeling what? Let's give a 2024 prediction. How are we feeling?
Go back in time just a little bit. Yeah. So the leg. There was the 2 years ago, 2022. It was I had the cast on, and then we had the protester. Come on.
That was one of the greatest moments I think in sports history. You bodying that protester, by the way. You remember that, Joey? That was incredible.
Oh yeah,
great clip.
So the people who took the over on that one, a lot of the betting places, they avoided the bet, so they didn't lose.
Yeah.
And this year, with the rain delay, everything got delayed like 2.5 hours, which the hot dogs got cold.
Yeah, brutal.
So like I'm going in on 0 calories, so I get amped up on caffeine and a couple things. So I was crashing. My timing was so I was slow this year. So I'm hoping there's just a couple. Those variables are hard to control, but if the weather's good, contest starts on time. I have a really good plan to get close to the 80 hot dogs.
I love so that's the number. Like, and I assume in practice, I feel like you've heard, and I know you practice with some folks that I know here around town sometimes, but you've definitely broken that world record in practice. Is that correct?
Yeah, the record is 76, and I've gone into the 80s.
That would be wild if we saw the 80s number next year. That'd be a big year.
It'd be awesome, because I love that contest.
I think America loves the contest. I think you're completely on that one.
So it's a fun. It makes it easy to push for that contest.
I love it. Well, man, Joey, I appreciate you coming on here. I tried to ask you to come on here while you were in Thailand, and I'm glad you did. And I'm glad we waited. I'm glad we got.
I had to do some interviews while I was in Thailand, and my interviews were dog crap. It was like I was drunk, and it didn't make sense.
Hey, it's all right. This is our Christmas episode. We're feeling good. It's great to see you, man. And honestly, the background looks incredible. Title belts, trophies. Just keep being you. You're an incredibly talented and very entertaining human being. You're doing great stuff. So I hope to see you very soon, and we appreciate you being on this show.
Dude, great to be out with you. I want to keep running into you around Indy.
Yeah, we got to do something here soon. We got to do something very soon. I'll be around.
Thanks,
see you,
buddy. Happy holidays,
thanks,
Joey.
man.
See you, Joey.
Well, I love talking to Joey. I'm not gonna lie. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Joey Chestnut, look out for a world record next year. I hammer it early. I'm gonna take the over for sure. I'm gonna take the over on hot dogs. But again, what a wild thing that you got to pay attention to the weather, the conditions, everything. But his body's good. His leg is fixed. He's been recovered in Thailand. I mean, it's incredible. So I thoroughly enjoyed that conversation with him.
Yeah, same. No, he's a good pal. I love that he's not born and raised here, but he is a Hoosier by nature. He's a Hoosier at heart. He's an indie guy that came here. Made it his home. And it's just another good voice, good person to have in the city to put on for us. So love Joey, always rooting for him, and really appreciate him stopping by. Good hookup there, Connor. Thanks again.
Also, that man can house beers. Like, if you've ever seen anyone you think they can chug beers, no shot. Joey, I've been out with Joey downtown in Indianapolis.
Yeah.
Joey can consume drinks at a mind-blowing level, like at the rate that he can consume hot dogs. So again, Joey's an alien, and it's official. That's the first alien to be on our show. He's definitely an alien. He's not a real person. He's an alien. But a great person, alien.
Me and him were both in Harlow's kickball tournament over the summer, and we went out later that night in Louisville. And that was what we were sitting there, and I asked him that question. I was like, you probably get this a lot, but I just got to ask, like, can you drink the way you eat? He literally heard me ask that question, housed his full drink, and set it down, and just goes, yep. And I was like, wow, okay, good deal. So you're 100% right. He can. All right. Well, it is the last episode of 2023. The Christmas holiday is 12 days away, I believe, as we record this. I'm looking forward to it very much. Connor's birthday is what, Thursday? Is it tomorrow?
Friday. Yeah, we got Friday. I'm getting older. It's absurd. 32. That's terrifying.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's a big time of year. We got birthday celebrations, we got Christmas parties, we got Christmas, New Year's, all the good things. And so to send us off here, we want to do our own little Christmas wish list here on Speed Street. So what we'll do is we have a wish for ourselves, we have a wish for IndyCar, and we have a wish for the 2024 year, maybe the new year. All right. So go ahead, Connor. Why don't you start us off?
All right, so Christmas wish list. I'm going to start with myself. This is a Christmas wish list.
Cool.
Now, look, I could easily say I'd like to win the Indy 500, but come on, that's absurd. That's like literally how I wake up and go to sleep at night. That's what I breathe oxygen with. My goal is to somehow end up in the Iowa IndyCar race next year. That would be one of my Christmas wish lists. Somehow end up in the Iowa IndyCar race, or we somehow get this NASCAR truck deal done. That would be ideal. But those are my two wishes. Again, very selfish, but we're allowed to do that. That's our wish list. We got wishes. So those are our wishes right now. I don't know how it's going to happen, but we're going to try.
Big ones for Santa to fit down the chimney, but that is why you have the Christmas wish list for yourself.
Yeah, Santa's got to have at least $2.5 million in his bag for me there, but we'll see.
All right, Ben, you go ahead.
For myself, this one is kind of sticking to this year, but I'm going to keep it simple. You know, I'm not like a big gift guy. Like, I'm not like, when I was a kid, I wanted certain gifts and stuff. So I'm pretty humble when it comes to my wish list, but this one's pretty simple because it's going to save my back when I go home. I just don't want a large amount of snow when I fly home next Friday because, you know, I love my mom. I will shovel her. I will snow blow. I will shovel the driveway. I mean, we have a long driveway, so I just really hope there isn't a large amount of snow. I'm going to do it either way, but I'm just going to hope it's a little bit easier. So that's the top of my Christmas wish list this year.
That's fair. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Minnesota, it's up there. I mean, do they have snow? Yeah, is it coming down full yet?
I think it snowed earlier, like a few weeks ago, but I think right now they're kind of hovering in like the high 30s, low 40s, so it hasn't been too bad, I don't think.
Nice. Little mild Minnesota winter there. All right, good. Well, mine for myself is just actually something, you know, fairly tangible that really could be there. I really just want some good cigars and a nice lighter.
Oh, all right.
I'm spending a bunch more time at home. I got the 1-year-old. I got another baby girl on the way. I like being home more now. I'm 30. I'm in my 30s. You know, so I would just love to be able to have I have a humidor. I have a little mobile humidor that my wife got me a couple of years ago.
Nice.
So I have a place to store them. Yeah, I would just love to be able to go down to my basement, pick out a nice cigar, go out to the back porch to the front porch. Get one of those torch ones that, you know, you flip up.
Need the torch. Yeah.
Get one of those torch ones and then just, you know, puff on a little stogie for a little bit. It's stocking stuffing. I feel like that's doable.
I like a good cigar. A good cigar is a nice, you feel a good cigar and a bourbon. That's like, you know what? I feel like an adult man now. I feel like an adult man out here. I have a great like carbon fiber that I got for my birthday last year, like carbon fiber for cigar storage, like thing, like a case. I don't have any cigars in there though. So I have a great case to eventually store 4 cigars. So eventually.
Yeah. Put some hair in your cigar.
Exactly. All right. So next is our wish list for IndyCar. Now look, there could be a lot of things on this wish list, right? But the IndyCar wish list for me, this is paramount, and I'm sure everyone else could say the same thing. But I hope that in 2024 we IndyCar Christmas wish list, the new TV deal. The new TV deal needs to be highly focused upon. I think it's of paramount importance. And I hope that we get the right TV deal for the right amount of money that makes people happy. That again, when we do that, that is something that hybrids, we're a little sad. It's like, hey, TV deal, excited. Let's get some money. We deserve it as a series, I believe. Let's do it. That's the wish list for IndyCar.
Totally. Absolutely. Yeah. Big money coming from that.
I hope so.
For sure. Ben, IndyCar, what do you got?
Mine is going to be hopefully going off a trend of this year's Indy 500. I want another first-time Indy 500 winner. because
Great idea.
I mean, you saw the excitement
Me
and
too.
everything. I think it's only going to be right. I think it's only going to be good. You know, anybody who wins is going to be happy, but I feel like it just means more when you win your first one. So I always love seeing that joy. That's on my wish list.
I agree. We need it.
That is a perfect segue to my IndyCar Christmas wish list, and that is hand in hand. It can work here. A legacy to win the Indy 500. I think that could include 3 different first-time winners: Graham Rahal, Marco Andretti, Connor Daly.
There you go.
So to go over your first time, that's just for different, their dads, their grandpas, their everything. I think that if you tie in first time and then also the stories that go along with those potential 3 right there, then I think you're really cooking with some magic, and we could have some whole, ESPN segments and things like that.
I agree.
Joe
30 for 30s,
like that, all that kind of thing. If a legacy, one of those 3, a legacy and a first timer to go off of Ben's, wins the 500 in May of 2024.
I like it.
I like that a lot. All right, so this is a 2024 wish in general. Now, this kind of really is an open category, really. But this is very Indy 500 centric. But I want a groundbreaking TV rating for the Indy 500 next year. I want there to be so much promotion, there to be so much hype about motorsport. Kyle Larson obviously doing the double. I want us to be that week after the 500, and hopefully I'll be celebrating a victory, drinking milk still till I can't see straight. But I just want to see that number be like, all right, we got it. You know what I mean? Like, hey, that's a good one. I feel like it's possible. I think people are watching motorsport. So do we get, NASCAR's biggest event, like when you look at all the TV rating, Daytona 500. Well, they get almost 9 million people that watch. So like there's a 4 million people swing in there. What if we slotted in at 6 million? We go from 4 to 6 million. That's probably a bit aggressive, but like there are people out there willing to watch big days in motorsport. So how do we focus in our promotion? How do we focus in our excitement and just get that there to where when it is Memorial Day weekend, you got must-see television, the Indy 500. I think that's what I want to see. I want to see a big ratings jump for us at the Indy 500 next year.
Yeah, it's trending that way. I mean, yeah.
I hope so.
It's possible. No doubt. Good wish. Ben?
I'm going to go a little more selfish. It could have been like my Christmas present this year, but I think I have a plan for what I want to do next year. But I have some tattoos on the deck right now that I will be diving into more next year. Yes, once some adult money is rolling, I could put some more time into it. So got a couple on deck. Once I have some money to put towards that will be permanently etched on my body.
Where are those going?
I have one that I've been no, thanks. I have one on my chest I've been working on for the design for a few years, and I've one that's like
chest tat for producer
chest
Ben.
tattoo.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. And then
I guess I could see that in you after I saw you singing karaoke at that one bar late at night.
Yeah.
I could see that.
I mean, I wasn't shireless up at the karaoke bar.
No,
but,
not yet.
We were doing that, so didn't have enough JMO rolling, but that's beside the point. And then I got one on my arm that's going to be kind of like an American traditional, and then I have a matching one I want to go with my sister at some point.
All right.
Yeah.
Hey,
good, perfect.
Big tattoo guy, so I love that.
Yeah, I got to catch up, Joey. How many are you at now?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
7. Okay. So I'm 5 behind, so I got some work to do.
Nice.
No, 8. I've got 8.
Wow,
Found it.
Okay.
Right, exactly. All right, well, I'll wrap it up here with kind of a sentimental, easy one. But my 2024 wish is just that I have a healthy baby girl and a healthy, clean, good birth process for my wife, and that everybody comes out good there in February of 2024. So that's my next year wish. Pretty easy one there for me, fellas, obviously.
I like
But
that.
good stuff.
Yeah.
As always, on social, tweet at us your wish list in those categories for yourself, for IndyCar, for 2024. If you just want to do IndyCar, if you just want to do whatever it is, we love hearing from you guys on Twitter. I know it. I hate to, but I call it Twitter. I know it's got the X
It's
logo,
Twitter, yeah.
but it's still
It's Twitter. Yeah.
So everybody gets it. Anyways, all right. Let's wrap it up here. Let's finish strong for 2023 with the Ricky Treadway Random Indy 500 driver. Connor, what do you got?
Yeah, and before we get there, real quick, keep listening if you feel like it. You know what I mean? It's a fun show. I think our last few episodes have been really good as well. There's been a lot of fun stuff to talk about. And like always, I mean, feel free to keep letting us know what you think about it, what you want to hear, who you want us to talk to. I just sent some Twitter DMs already with a guest that I'd like to have on, starting in next year. I think I'd be very excited about that. I'm going to do a little bit more pre-planning on the guests, hopefully. But we appreciate you guys for sure. I mean, the YouTube, if you haven't liked and subscribed the videos on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, Connor Daily 22, like the videos, leave a comment, let us know what you think. Gonna try to maybe do some giveaways next year on that side of it as well to kind of generate more and more from the YouTube side. But the listenership too is important for us. We want to keep this show going. We want it to be something that you crave. Like, hey, when it's Wednesday, when it's Tuesday, whatever it is, we want you to be able to, enjoy this show. And there are plenty of other episodes. Look, we're not going to have an episode after this until, the new year. But like, if you feel like going back and listening to some episodes, we have some great episodes from this year. Some of my personal favorites from Milo Ventimiglia, actor, great chat there. We had a lot of great IndyCar drivers on.
Jimmy Johnson.
We had Jimmy Johnson on. We had Logan Sargent, Formula One driver. I thought that was a great interview that now, he's signed on for Williams again next year, which is great. Just kind of scroll back. Like, if you feel like it. I know I'm getting to the end of all the podcasts that I need to listen to, and I try to adventure around other people's podcasts and see what looks good. So let us know what you think, and we appreciate it. And as always, we're gonna end with the Ricky Treadway Random Indy 500 Driver of the Week. And I went more recent for this one because I'm feeling good about IndyCar. We love the Indy 500, but I went more recent because. I think people like this segment, and I found one that I hadn't forgot about, but I found one that I was like, you know what, this is worth talking about, and I think a lot of people will remember this. But I went with the 2004 Indy 500. 2004, obviously won by Buddy Rice, legend, love Buddy Rice. Top 5 in that race was fantastic. Buddy Rice, Tony Kanaan, Dan Weldon, Brian Herta, Bruno Junqueira. Great top 5. But the man who finished in 30th place, Mark Taylor. Mark Taylor only did one Indy 500, and I think it's an interesting story. I have a Mark Taylor diecast car. I do have a Mark Taylor diecast. Mark Taylor, if you remember, also quite interesting, born December 16th. My birthday, December 15th. British former racing driver, Indy Lights. He was Indy Lights champion. He dominated the Indy Lights series. Won the 2000 European Championship in Formula Ford. Moved into British Formula 3 in 2001 and finished 9th. But won the next year. Won a race the next year. 2003, he moved to America for the Infinity Pro Series, which is Indy Lights now or Indy Next, whatever it is, and dominated that year. Dominated in Indy Next, winning 7 of 12 races. In the 4 car for Panther Racing. And this is when my stepdad, Doug Bowles, was involved in Panther Racing as well. So we had some pretty close ties to this organization. But he slotted right into the number 2 in the Menards car in 2004 and got replaced halfway through the season, which is kind of wild. I mean, we've seen that this year. We saw people get replaced this year, but later. But basically, he was involved in accidents in 5 of his 6 starts, including the Indy 500, and then dropped for Townsend Bell. So Townsend Bell replaced Mark Taylor, and then Mark Taylor immediately went to go drive for Greg Ray's team, Access Motorsports. But that was it. That was his only year in IndyCar. So pretty wild how that works. I think Mark Taylor maybe an unfulfilled talent there. I don't know.
Yeah, kind of sad, but Hey, you have his diecast.
One Indy 500. Yeah.
You know, the he's out there somewhere still.
Yep.
But-
Mark Taylor.
Mark Taylor, the last one.
I have a diecast in my closet with Mark Taylor. I have a Mark Taylor diecast.
There you go. He lives on.
Yep.
It's good. All right. There you have it. 2023, the final edition of Speed Street. We come to a close here right before the holidays. We hope that everybody has a very, very happy holiday season, very happy Merry Christmas with family and friends, and be safe. You know, travel out there is crazy. Hopefully you're listening to us while you're flying or you're driving to whatever place you're going to, and stay safe out there because we have a lot of exciting things on tap for 2024, and racing season is just around the corner. We need you there for that as well. So like Connor said, we appreciate all of you guys for hanging out with us every week, listening, commenting, being involved, and we appreciate producer Ben Walton. Again, thank you, sir. Shout out to you for all of your work
Shout out,
you've
Ben.
done in the past 2 years for us. And look forward to watching your career grow, buddy. We'll keep the room open and we'll keep the Speed Street group chat going, and so we can make sure that we stay in touch. So everybody send their flowers to Ben for all of his help that he's done on this show. And until 2024, we will talk to you then on Speed Street.
Hey everyone, Connor Daly here. Please leave a like on this video if you did enjoy it, and also subscribe to the channel as well. That would be very helpful. Be a friend, tell a friend. Thank you so much for the support, and we'll see you on the next episode of Speed Street.